We're live. That's it. This is
We're
my
live.
first time hosting this. Normally we have Cabana Crypto in the house helping us with this, but he is in St. Thomas living large. And that guy seems to be on vacation about every other week.
I,
Is
I
that
was
not true?
I was gonna say, and I notice he doesn't go any place miserable. There's always beaches, and what am I doing wrong? That's
I
right.
don't know. He's got something figured out that we don't.
No, guy lives
Yeah.
in Florida, and he's got to go to a beach for a holiday. It's tough.
As Bryce can tell you, the last time I was in St. Thomas, I might have ended up doing a couple of tequila shots with some strangers on a boat at
No,
some point, and it was a bad night. Bad night. I was pretty sick. Not good.
the U.S. Virgin Islands back probably 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, were completely rewired from an infrastructure standpoint to attract portfolio managers to the islands to run money. So
Let's go,
just
guys.
just a thought, but
We might as well. We might as well move down there. Why do I'm in Carrizozo, the middle of nowhere already? St.
well,
Thomas
see?
has probably got a better infrastructure than Carrizozo.
Oh, it's not too shabby. But yeah, you should consider that.
Well, let's do an intro. Hi, everybody. It is the SKTLs weekly volunteers meeting. We got me, Cody Willard, the one and only Dan Gerasi, chairman of the Planetary Society, president, COO of Freefall Aerospace, Sanatsi Bilsell, the chief scientist of one of the largest former chief scientist, one of the largest telecom companies on the planet. And I think it was actually the largest telecom company on the planet when the man was the chief scientist over there. And Bryce Smith, rock star head analyst at 10,000 Days Capital Management, also known as my hedge fund. Welcome everybody. We're going to talk some crypto and some space, and I am going to share my phone on the app. I tested it before we got on today, and I am about 80% sure that I can get this shown today. A 20% chance I have no idea what I'm doing. So, bear with me. We're not on live TV. We're on live YouTube StreamYard. So Fox News producers can't yell at me. Bryce, you can smile a little bit. I've made like 3 funny jokes, and you're not even you're like grimacing. Are you in pain over there?
It's because he has to sit near you. I think
maybe it's not funny, but I made 3 jokes. You could have at least smirked at or something.
Yeah, you're on the. Got to put that in his job description. He's on the payroll. So
yeah, that's actually. You ever said there's a Sopranos episode where Tony comes home and he tells his wife this joke, and she's like, "That's not even that. What? That's not that funny." He's like, "Well, when I told it at the office at the strip club, everybody laughed," and she's like, "They all work for you, Bryce. You don't even bother laughing, and you work for me." What? I got to crack the whip around here, I guess. I don't know. You should see how my daughter talks. All right. Anyway, let's hit some space news. ASTS Mobile did in the news twice this week. Earlier this week, they tested one of their satellite speeds. That ASTS wants to basically do satellite cell phones, communications through satellites from your cell phone. Full disclosure, I own puts on it. I'm not a believer. I don't like the management. I think they're going to have problems. The company tested it. It worked. The stock popped. And then last night they came out and said, hey, while the stock's popping, we are going to do a secondary, raise some more money because they will otherwise run out of money before they get to where they need to be, which, again, is one of the reasons I don't like the stock. But, yeah, the stock was down 25% today after being up 20% earlier in the week. So, give or take a little bit. And you probably know those guys, or of the company for sure.
I follow them. I think the competition for those phones and this whole satellite to cell phone direct market is going to be a fierce one. And whether it's Apple or anybody else that's going to get into this Starlink, you name it, there's going to be a lot of blood on the street before the winners are declared in this marketplace. And so I think anybody who's not an undeniable 900-pound gorilla such as, you know, a
Starlink.
Starlink under SpaceX or an Apple, is more likely an acquisition target potentially than they are
Well, and that's I'm
a
glad you
winner.
said that, because I think that's actually what part of what fuels the ASTS pop is that everybody knows that Apple is adding satellite, maybe not everybody, but if you follow this stuff, Apple is adding satellite capabilities to their latest iPhones. And they partnered with it. Is it Viasat, I think, the one that they partnered with on it? But it's only basically in emergency SOS situations that it would use that network. But, it does give Apple a slight, differentiation from Android to have smart satellite SOS capabilities.
It's a
And
matter of time before that changes.
what I was going to say, a matter of time before Starlink and/or someone else, Amazon Kuiper, for example, they want to do broadband satellite constellation like Starlink. There's a lot of companies, OneWeb, others that are doing all of this. It is a matter of time before your smartphone can use the satellite network, maybe not quite as easily as a Starlink receptor device can that sits out in front of my house. But you will be able to use satellite technology on your smartphone. What do you think? Within 3 years as a standard thing, maybe 5 years at the worst case scenario?
Yeah, a little bit longer. I think there's going to be a lot of regulatory hurdles. The FCC is going to for sure mess this up at some point in ways we haven't thought of yet. And so I think there'll be some of those hurdles, but it's going to happen. The bigger question is going to be, does everything on Earth just automatically replicate going into orbit? In other words, does every cell phone manufacturer have its own satellite solution? Or do you have satellite service providers
or both
collapsing that market to serve multiple cell phone operators? The issue is going to be, if they're all in LEO, it's not an issue of latency. The signals are going to be relatively consistent.
Dan, tell people what LEO is. Low Earth
orbit, where 90% of everything is, including all the junk. So, I think it's going to be an interesting market to watch. There's so many things being pushed up that are going to have a major presence constellation wise, whether they're thousands in low Earth orbit or 10 or 20 in middle Earth orbit, because in middle Earth orbit, you need a minimum of 6 satellites to cover 90% of your surface, whereas in low Earth orbit, you need thousands because it's so much closer to the planet. And so middle Earth orbit, I expect, is going to be of growing popularity right now. And the latency isn't that different.
I was going to say, so walk us through a little bit on that. So low Earth orbit, low latency because it's close to the planet, so it doesn't take very long for the beams to go back and forth.
50 milliseconds.
But it takes thousands of satellites to cover even a good part of the globe, much less all of the globe. Right. Whereas MEO, middle Earth orbit, seems like middle Earth sounds wrong. That sounds like a time.
This isn't a science fiction thing. Center of the Earth.
Middle Earth. That's like Game of Thrones type of phrase. But yes,
right.
Middle Earth orbit is
6.
It's further out there, but you only need a handful of satellites to cover most of the globe.
The big thing is latency, the delay. So it's 50 milliseconds for low Earth orbit satellites to communicate to the surface of the Earth. It's only 150 milliseconds in middle Earth orbit. No one would even notice a difference. It's very, very small difference. Geosynchronous orbit is much further out.
Dan, you would notice a difference if you're a gamer. If you sat there playing,
you'd be hard pressed.
I don't know, man. Like those guys who are serious, what's it called? GTA? Grand Theft Auto product. The guys who play those games for real and competitive ways against other people on the internet, they don't want that extra. They need that latency down as quick as possible.
Their own systems and their own connections in their home would create more issues than the difference in latency between those two orbits.
Can we just, once again, I want to talk about the fact that sand can be turned in to this thing that controls electrons in a semiconductive way that then allows you to communicate with some fiber optic lasers that are sending laser signals through some glass that then connects to a satellite in outer space and then goes over to some data center and then goes into a data center and pulls some content so that you can watch your TikTok or your YouTube video and then puts it back on your phone almost in real time. And this exists. This exists. This actually exists. I'm not sure we don't just live in a simulation because none of that makes any sense to me. You're turning sand into YouTube videos.
Well, it could be those are the elements we were born with, if you will. So let me see if I can show you something. Why can't I?
You go to present, and I hope you can present from your computer.
Here we go. So I think I may have put this up before, but this just gives everybody a really good idea of the difference between low Earth orbit over here, okay, which is very close. This is middle Earth orbit. So anywhere from 2,000 to 36,000 kilometers from Earth. Okay, but then you go out to geosynchronous orbit where the big high-flying birds are. That's much further out. And you need 3 satellites out here to cover the entire Earth because you have a much wider angle of reach and view. Whereas if you're Starlink, you can see a little speck of the planet and you need thousands of them to cover the place.
Dan, how big is a Starlink satellite? About a yard by 2 feet or something like that? 36 inches by 24 inches?
Yeah, I don't actually know the dimensions, but they're small.
Yeah, and then what? How big is a geosynchronous?
Well, these are things out here that could be the size of a bus, but it doesn't have to be. But many of them are the very big, the largest telecommunications satellites.
How did they get a bus-sized satellite out there 20 years ago?
We had many rockets that were lifting things like that. A lot of the Deltas and Atlas rockets could lift satellites of that size.
But it would cost you $1 billion a pop?
Well,
$2 billion a pop?
Those are the biggest telecom companies putting those things out there. So,
and how much did it cost to send one of those out to Geo 20 years ago?
I couldn't tell you, but these are satellites that could be $50 or $250 million in terms of cost.
Even just the satellite itself is $200 million.
The satellite itself.
And then you drop $1 billion to get it out there, and now you can send stuff up there for what, $100,000? You could get a satellite, maybe not a bus-sized satellite out there.
I mean, this is where you see all those diagrams for space debris and everything else, where it's just like a cloud of garbage around the planet, and then you get out here and it's pretty sparse. There's only one company who actually has a constellation at middle Earth orbit right now, and that's SES. That's why this is their slide. They're pretty high on the fact that middle Earth orbit is the ideal place.
Dan, I noticed on your document there that you pulled up it was calling it medium Earth orbit, which sounds better than middle Earth. Yeah, just sounds too Game of Thronesy. Say middle Earth.
Oh, okay.
Even though I think technically
medium.
It also works.
Medium.
All right. The other thing we should maybe mention, let's hit on some crypto news. Cabana always likes to hit crypto news and not just space news. Dan, is there anything else space newsy that I should hit on before I move?
No, there's a lot of stuff happening. Virgin Galactic, you're going to see in the news pretty soon because they're about ready to fly for real here pretty soon. They've already had a successful test flight, so everybody's keeping their fingers crossed that they're going to be able to get back in business. But
that's just down the road from here. Bryce's hometown. He grew up 30 minutes from where Spaceport USA is.
Yeah, I paid for Spaceport USA, I think.
If you're a taxpayer in the state of New Mexico,
at least a few bags of chips and some Sonic grocery receipts tax, nice.
That's right. That's right.
But that's very true. And it would for the state of New Mexico, Virgin Galactic would really be great if it could survive. I mean, we really have funded that company, given them subsidies, helped them build their base, all kinds of stuff. And as anybody who follows me or has been on these calls in the last 2 years know, I'm so mad at their management and Sir Branson for not doing a secondary when the stock was at 60, worth $20 billion. And now they're doing a second. They also announced a secondary like last week at $5 a share. Now that they're at $5 a share.
Is it the quarterfinals or the semifinals that New Mexico is in now for this big NSF grant? 10 years at $16 million a year.
I do not know.
The team at Q Station, Central New Mexico, National Science Foundation. But there's a big grant program where they're awarding them to different states for economic development and all this stuff. And one of the categories was, of course, space, aerospace. And Randy Trask of the New Mexico Trade Alliance at Q Station in Albuquerque. There's a whole team of organizations, including the spaceport, that participated in this submission. And Greg Amorati, who's on here often, helped them with writing that appeal. But it looks like I think it's the quarterfinals. It might be the semis. But it's a grant of $160 million, $16 million a year over 10 years.
Great.
Where the plans are to build out facilities, accelerators, some commercial, some office space to create a hub, probably in around old Nob Hill, that area, to really help spur the space economy on, and including some work that needs to be done at the space.
Now that you mentioned that, you made me realize another little tidbit we should probably mention. Last week, I took Bryce to Albuquerque with me to the Q Station, and we sat down with SpaceWorks and the Space Force. SpaceWorks, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, is the innovation arm of the Space Force.
Yeah, research and development arm. Yep.
And we sat down with the director of SpaceWorks. Is that what Matt's title is?
No, Gabe Mounts actually there is the deputy chief of SpaceWorks.
That's right.
Matt is in charge of this rapid deployment acquisition office that Space Force created late last year.
So I've completely destroyed my credibility by not knowing the guy that we met with. But regardless, Bryce and I went up and we spent an afternoon with a bunch of folks from the Space Force, the SpaceWorks, and the Rapid Response Office here in New Mexico. And there are quite a few companies. We actually heard someone say they were from Rocket Lab, but then we didn't actually get to meet them. So I'm not sure they were there or not. But what my point being is that it is amazing how now that I'm a little bit spacey. I was always a space case, but now I'm a little bit spacish as an investor. And it's amazing how much space activity there is going on in New Mexico specifically, and also in the United States. I mentioned my Trading with Cody transcript that we just sent out. And someone asked me about another company. What was the name of that company I pulled up? Gravity. Oh, the space station one. That's amazing how many space startups there are in the United States. I saw a stat, I think, and it's like 70% of all space startups are based in the United States. It is happening here. The revolution.
Which, by the way, frankly,
Gateway Spaceport. Have you heard of Gateway Spaceport, Dan? They've been around since 2014. I just Googled it and went to the website.
Yeah, but it's surprising. Actually, 70% would seem low when you're talking about space as an economy and as an industry. The fact that 30% are outside the country tells you much more about the fact that the whole planet is really getting into this game in a big way.
You know, it'd be interesting, Dan. I wonder how many AI startups are based in the United States versus globally versus space startups in the US versus globally. Yeah. All right, guys, before we run too long, we got another 10 minutes. I promised everybody for the last month that I would walk them through how to buy SKTL tokens on MetaMask. I'm going to give it my best shot. I haven't done it in months, but I think I can do it. I created a sub account in my MetaMask so that we can do it from scratch. So I am going to share my screen unless anybody has questions or comments. And by the way, Joe Waldman in the house, legendary. What do I call you?
A legend in my own mind. Yeah.
A legend in his own mind. Joe, if someone sits down with you at a table and says, "Oh, what did you do for a living? You're retired now, but tell people what your what you would say you did for a living growing, not what you say, what you did for a living.
I have an accounting degree, started in the automobile business shortly out of college, and not a family business, just went to work for somebody after I worked in accounting, and grew in the retail automobile business, eventually became a partner in a Honda dealership for many years.
Wow.
And then I retired about 3 years ago, and
And Joe has been
wanted to stay, but my partner was elderly, and he got ill, and turned over the operation of his company to his grandkids, who knew absolutely nothing, and it wasn't fun anymore. So I decided to cash in and retire.
You know, I run a hedge fund for a living, and Joe, you've heard this story. I know Bryce has heard this story, but one of my best friends who runs a hedge fund for a living told me the other day, I said, man, I feel stupid. He goes, dude, if you don't want to feel stupid, you're in the wrong business. So I'm just saying that hedge funding is not always fun either, but I can understand, especially if you're at retirement age. I guess I could retire. I got 15, 20 more years, though. I have no choice. 10,000 days is the name of the fund. I'm going to share the screen. And by the way, I should say that Joe Aldman has been integral in the foundation of our SKTL token. He helped write some of the documents. He's been very helpful through all of this, as everybody who's on this call. Dan, I guess, sort of showed up after we did all the work, so it's been easy for him. But the rest of us worked our butts off to make this.
But he knows more about the whole thing than any of us put together.
Well, that's probably true, too. All right, can you guys see my phone on the screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there's Amaris. How cute is she? Yeah, we were driving her somewhere the other day in the van. All right. You go to MetaMask. You let it recognize your face, or you sign in if you haven't started it yet. Notice I have account 2 here. And I need to import my tokens because I don't see my SKTL token here. So I'm going to go over to my browser, and I preset it. I went to SKTLs.com. You see down there at the bottom, SKTLs.com. And you can go to wallet info on the menu at the top. Why has that got a big white space right there? There you go. I can't get to the menu now that I'm sharing my screen. But you go up there and you go to wallet info, and then you're going to go to the token address. You see this where it says the token address? I'm highlighting it. Everybody say yes if you don't mind. Thank you. Copy.
Yes.
All right. Then I'm going to come back to my MetaMask. I'm going to import this token. I paste this here. Has to be custom token. Token address. Here we go. Paste. Next. I hit the wrong button. Custom token. There you go. It filled out. The token symbol is SKTL. SKTL. Token. It goes out to 18 decimal points on our token. I say import. And now you can see there, I already have 12,000 in this account. My other account's got 1 million something. I didn't mess around. I've been buying this sucker a long time. Once we got it, once we released it. All right. So now, in order to buy this, we want to go to the bottom button. Why is it? I don't want to count 1. I want to count 2. How do I switch to account 2? Connect more accounts, account 2. Now, account 2, you notice the thing up here at the top right, that little, I don't know, face thing that I could put my face in there. It turned from green to purple. The purple one's my account 2. So once I added SKTL to the MetaMask a moment ago, it puts it in here down at the bottom. If you don't have it down there, you could again paste the token address and it will pull up the SKTL token. If you noticed when I was back at that home screen, I have $18 worth of BNB in this account. So now we'll go back over here to the browser at the bottom right. You click that browser looking button. It used to say browser, now it doesn't. And one of the options there is BNB. So I can exchange BNB for SKTL tokens. How many do I want to do? Well, let's buy, how about 1,000 SKTL tokens? $6. You can see there it automatically filled the BNB, $6 of BNB for $6 of SKTL. Swap. You sure you want to do this? Yes, I am. Confirm. You really want to confirm? Yes, I do. Transaction submitted. Just wait a second. Transaction complete. Dun, dun, dun. Now, how many did I have a minute ago? 18,000 tokens? Or 12,000 tokens? Now I have 13,000. We did it. We bought 1,000 tokens. Now I have only $11 of BNB instead of $18 of BNB. Any questions or comments? That's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. You do have to. Okay, look, one other step. If you don't have BNB, or which is just another token, that's the Binance token. It's the fourth largest cryptocurrency in the world. If you don't have BNB, you have to buy some. So you can open yourself an account at Binance.us and convert dollars or Ether or Bitcoin or whatever you want into Binance. And then you go to MetaMask and it'll be in, you have to send it to you do have to send it from, I guess maybe that will be next week's call. Next week I didn't think about that, but if you don't know, if you know anything at all about crypto, this is like too kindergartenish for you. But if you have BNB, you simply send it to your MetaMask wallet address. If you notice right there, there's my wallet address.
Yeah. Cody.
Show my private key. Never disclose this key. I ain't showing that. No, sir. I ain't showing that. Oh, there you go. Public address copied. And then I can come over here and paste it somewhere if I wanted to and send it to you guys, or you could send me money. You can send me BNB to that address. And that address will then have BNB. And when you open your MetaMask wallet, that's your MetaMask wallet address, and it'll have the BNB in it. You convert the BNB to the SKTL token just like I just did. The idea has always been that we, along with Bitcoin, are one of the only tokens on the planet that are not securities, because we did not have any founder tokens. We received no, I'm putting Bryce on, removing him from stream because he can hear me anyway. That we are one of the only two tokens on the planet that that are not a security in any way, shape, or form, because we did not nobody received any benefit for creating this token. It all went out to the public or to the fund to clean up space debris. And Bitcoin was given away entirely too when it was first launched. And then Satoshi Nakamoto went and bought some of those tokens on the open market as the first trades, but he had to buy them. So at any rate, we're not security. So I truly believe that over time, another little tidbit of news, the SEC actually arrested some people this week for pumping and dumping crypto. Yay, SEC. Yay, maybe you'll do your job someday. Very proud of you. Now that all those tokens went to zero, you're going to arrest somebody. Good. But at least they arrested somebody. That actually is wonderful for Bitcoin and SKTL tokens, certainly Bitcoin itself over time. We need prosecution of fraud. We need prosecution of pump and dumps. We need the government to prosecute people who break laws. And there are lots of laws that have been broken with crypto in general over the last few years, security laws specifically, other criminal laws too. I mean, just outright horrible fraud and stuff too. But what I'm trying to get to is eventually we want the SKTL token to be available over on Coinbase, over on Binance. We hope and believe that we will over time, because it's a virtuous token that's not a security and nobody's going to shut it down, that over time it will be available on those exchanges. And just like you buy BNB, eventually you should be able to buy SKTL tokens. But in the meantime, you got to go through all these idiotic, painful steps through MetaMask and sending yourself BNB to buy it. But it doesn't have to be BNB. You can also buy it with Ether, but you have to exchange a crypto for SKTL on MetaMask in order to buy it through PancakeSwap. Man, when we started this stuff, I thought I knew crypto. And the whole reason we started SKTL tokens was we figured that we should learn more about crypto and how all of these tens of thousands of silly, fraudulent, and stupid cryptos are being invented. And when I started, I thought I understood a lot. But by the time we had actually built this token, then I actually understood a lot. It is amazing how painful and hard it is to buy most cryptocurrencies, and that millions of people do. Like, what? Who's got time to figure this shit out unless you're like just trying to learn? It's amazing to me, but it does. Millions of people buying and selling crypto. Be careful out there. Most cryptos, as I've said for years, are silly, fraudulent, and stupid, and you're probably going to lose all your money in them if they're not named Bitcoin or SKTL. Never want to be called a Bitcoin maximalist, but I probably am.
Cody?
Yes.
It was great. You demoed. The only thing I would add is, I don't know if you want to share, your phone screen again, the Binance Smart Chain Network. So it was already set up for you who's basically just starting, to buy or sell SKTL, has to set up the Binance Smart Chain, but that information is on the website.
You know what? Probably what I need to do here is, hold on, let me share my phone again if I can find it. It's not showing up on, I got to go to QuickTime on the computer. Start. Yeah, I can't figure out how to share I can't share my phone again. But what I need to do really, I probably need to do an even better presentation next week or the next week where I go to Binance, I show people how to actually buy BNB, then I show people how to send it to your MetaMask wallet address, and then add the Binance token network to your MetaMask. That's easier than adding the token because it is one of the options.
That's really the only thing that is missing. At least we need to point out the information is on the website. So
yeah, and yes, guys, there are videos that show how to do this. No, all right. Well, I can't figure out how to share my screen now. StreamYard, the program we use for this, it's pretty good. But I did Google how do you share your smartphone on StreamYard broadcast, and it said you have to use. Here it is. You have to put my phone on the computer and then I can show the computer. Can't actually do it from the phone. So why is that not showing? Now I don't know how to make it work again.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
One more time. I want to just show if I can though. I got it. Oh wait, no, that's not it. That's my camera. iPhone. No. All right. Peace, love, and happiness, everybody. Any questions or comments? We lost Waldman. We lost Bryce. SKTL volunteers are falling like flies.
Hey, we've finally got this done. Congratulations. You
did. Yes. Thank you.
A momentous day.
That was good.
It actually, I will say there's a big weight off my chest. That feels great. Wonderful. Finally. But then I set myself.
I wrote it in my.
Next week I'll do more. Did you make notes?
I wrote it in my notebook, of course, and I did say that Cody did his demo. Yeah, Cody shows.
I did it. I finally did it.
He did it.
Yeah.
Dan, always good to see you. Sanatsi, always appreciate you guys. Thank you both so much for your time and energy. And you know,
see you next
let's
week.
keep rocking and rolling. Let's keep spacing.
You got it. Have an
Bye,
enjoy-
everybody. See you
All right.
next
Take
week,
care.
same time, same bat channel.
Have a
Bye.
good 4th. Okay.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, guys.
You too.